Welcome to We're All Creative, the podcast that dives deep into the vibrant world of creative women shaping their own paths. I'm Roxanne Fuentes, and each week I sit down with inspiring women from across the creative spectrum: artists, entrepreneurs, designers, storytellers, and many more, to uncover the real stories behind their careers, passions, and creative journeys. Whether you're a seasoned creative or just beginning your journey, this space is here to remind you creativity lives in all of us, and you're not alone. So grab your favorite drink and let's get inspired. I would love to get started with just how you came to be where you are right now, because going from any normal job to full-time food blogging and recipe making, I'm sure that's a huge shift. So I'd love to know how you got to this point right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a really big shift, and I come from a marketing and social media background. I have a bachelor's in commerce and studied marketing. I worked in marketing for years, and I started choosing Chia as a creative outlet on the side. Everything was like video based, it was photos, and things were just getting started. And influencer marketing wasn't even really much of a thing yet at this point. So it was really just a creative outlet for me to share my recipes and healthy inspiration. I had no idea that this could even be a full-time job at the time when I started it. And then I kind of started growing a little bit on the side while I was working, and I did get my first brand offer while I was working full time. I believe it was for a tea company at the time, and I was like, wait, this brand wants to pay me money to like put their product in my post. Again, it was like this was so new at the time. And then from there, it kind of just started building a little bit until I realized that this could be something more and could be something bigger. And I got like the confidence that I needed to quit my full-time job and jump in full-time. It's definitely a little bit of a scary jump and transition, but I was at that point starting to get a few more brand deals and partnerships. So I felt like I had a little bit of a safety net to kind of catch me so I could kind of move forward with it a little bit more.
Wow. And so right now, is a main part of your income still partnerships? Is it from like content creation? Like, where do you get the majority of your income?
Yeah, so my main source of my income right now is actually my blog. When I started
Oh,
out, it was
really?
brand partnerships. Yeah, and now it's transitioned to my blog. Brand partnerships have become increasingly difficult because the market has become increasingly saturated, which is unfortunate. There was a time where it was really easy to work with brands and they would just reach out to you. Like so many brands would reach out to you and you didn't have to put any work to get in touch with brands. And now I'm finding a really big shift in there for most influencers and content creators that it is a lot more difficult just because the market's so saturated. There's a lot of brands working with micro influencers, budgets are really spread out. So my focus has really shifted to my blog. My main source of income for my blog is advertisement, so ad revenue. And then it's my digital products, so my ebooks. And that's where I put most of my focus because I have a lot more control there versus just working with brands or hoping a brand's going to reach out to me or have a campaign.
Yeah, and then I'm sure having devoted followers, like you said, you can control the content they're seeing because it's the stuff that you want to put out instead of having to sort of always figure out what's the best for the brand that you're working with. It's more about your brand now because, like you said, a lot of the brands are probably using a majority of micro influencers. And at your scale, the price too that you would probably charge them is totally different than probably a micro influencer as well, just because obviously the reach that you have is way different. When it comes to your process, do you batch work? How do you batch work if you do that? Sure, you're not constantly cooking, right? What does that look like?
I'm a huge fan of batch work. I have been for years. For me, it's a really good way to kind of stay in my creative zone of genius without switching back and forth and doing too many things. And like you said, I don't want to be in the kitchen trying to cook recipes, like multiple recipes every single day. So I try to batch my content creation. So that'll be photography for my website and then filming videos for my social media. And I try and do like two, sometimes maybe three in a day. And I try and do that 3 days a week, maybe. And that's usually for at least half the day. I shoot in natural light, so I kind of lose the light by the afternoon. And then I try and batch also photo editing, video editing, writing blog posts, preparing my content for social media, reading the captions, my voiceovers, subtitles, getting everything prepped and ready to go up there. So it not only helps me really stay in my zone of genius, but it also really helps me stay focused like on the task at hand and be more efficient with it because you're
Yeah.
not jumping back and forth and doing a bunch of different things. So that's one way I really like to stay organized, especially because now I also have a toddler. So life's a little more different than it used to be, where I had a little more free time to get things done. And I find like this, it really helps me stay focused and be more efficient.
Yeah, it's almost like you have not that you have the 9 to 5, but you have your schedule out ready.
Yeah,
Like, this is what I'm
exactly.
doing each day of the week. Do you work all 5 days, all 7 days? Like, how often are you working?
Up until 6 months ago, for the past year and a half, I was working 4 days a week because I had my daughter home with me 1 day a week until she started daycare before we had some help at home. Now she's in school full time. So I have 5 days a week again, which feels really, really nice to have like an extra 8 hours to get everything done. So yeah, I'm 5 days a week now with work, but I am also kind of, finding that work-life balance. Again, with the toddler, there's days where I go pick her up from school at 4 o'clock to go to the park if it's nice out. So it's 5 days a week, but also kind of finding time for myself and my family in between there.
Where do you get your inspiration for your recipes? I just saved the banana muffin one that you
Mhm.
have up right now, and I'm gonna make that. As soon as my bananas are ripe, I'm gonna make that one.
My inspiration comes from mainly two sources. It's either things that are seasonal or it's things that are trending. So trending ingredients. So a trending ingredient, something my audience really loves are recipes with dates. They're like a
Mm.
great little natural sweet treat. So that's where I would get an ingredient inspiration to create different recipes that are focused with that ingredient like date, or it could be bananas. And then there's definitely seasonal. So moving into summer, I'm really thinking about what is fresh. We're looking at like berries, watermelon, what fruits are in season, what kind of salads are in season, popsicles, things that people will really be looking for like the seasonality that we're in.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff photographs really well, like fruit just always photographs beautifully. And
Absolutely.
there's some things that don't though, right? So like how do you go about photographing? You said the natural light, but I feel like you have a very succinct and obvious style to your photography. Did that change over the years? Like did it take you a while to get there?
Yeah, it's definitely was a work in progress. I am self-taught with photography. I did do a couple online courses for photography. If you go way back to like the first page of my blog, like
Goals.
you'll see those old photos, and they're not great, right? We all start somewhere and build it up. And over time, with really just a lot of practice, I started building a consistent style. I also like to use some things that are consistent to make that kind of choosing chia distinct photo. So I use a very similar backdrop. I like to shoot on like a white marble board. I generally shoot in overcast lighting. So the lighting is really soft and airy. I like backlit photos. And then I use the same edits on all of my photos. So when you go to the blog or you look at my website, you really see that cohesiveness in all of the images. But yeah, definitely it's a lot of practice. It's a lot of trial and error to see what works, what doesn't, what you like, what you don't. And a lot of time just to kind of develop that distinct style.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is there anything that has not worked for you, recipe wise, photography wise? Did anything that was hard, didn't work out, and then how did you fix or overcome that?
I mean, there's definitely like a lot of fails and like different aspects of being a food blogger. If we're looking at recipe creation, like I have like for every great recipe you see out there, like there's definitely a lot of fails, especially in like the healthy dessert category. Because for
Mm,
me, it's really important to deliver desserts that still taste good. And there are a lot of healthy desserts out there that are questionable, like how they taste, where people are just like mixing protein powder with like water and calling it some like I don't know
yeah.
protein pudding and like
Right.
does that really taste that good? Like we're not sure about
Just the
that.
cookie
So if it doesn't
cutter.
taste good, yeah, it's definitely going to be a fail for me. So I definitely have a lot of those ones that don't turn out well. If it doesn't turn out well, like I'll test it a few times. If I really can't get it or like I'm losing the inspiration for
Right.
it, I'm kind of like, all right, let's move on and try something different. Not everything's gonna work, which is just part of the job, is just
Mhm.
testing and trying things out and seeing like what works, what doesn't. It kind of sucks. Like there are some weeks where I have some recipes that I'm testing out and it just feels like nothing's working. Like the muffins didn't come out, the
Right.
dessert didn't come out, like things even just stylistically, the way I want them to look visually. Sometimes it's worth playing around with it and making it better. And sometimes it's just okay to say, you know what, like this didn't work out and we're just going to leave it at that and move on and try something different.
For the blog, because you said that that's your main source of income, is that where you also put a majority of your efforts? Because you're going to have to write out, everything on there, story wise and recipe wise. Because I know you're very good at putting up the reels on Instagram and things like that. But where does your like the majority of your thought process go into?
Yeah, so definitely it goes into my blog. There's definitely a fine line because social media is still really important and
Mhm.
it's really discoverable. It's where most people will find me and then kind of transition to my blog to find my recipes, or maybe they'll hop on my email list and become a subscriber there. So my main focus definitely is on my blog, on my website, creating my recipes and posting them there. And I think it's also really important as a content creator because you actually own your website, right? Like these apps, we don't own them. We saw what happened with TikTok earlier this
Are you
year.
on
Was it
TikTok?
going away? I am on TikTok.
Okay.
Is it not going away? There was like everyone was freaking out. Is their career over because they're only an influencer on TikTok? And that's really scary as a creator to just put all your eggs in one basket and like you don't know what's going to happen with these
Right.
apps if they can just change an algorithm on you. Not to say a website too, right? Like your traffic mostly will come probably from Google and they also have algorithms and they can change, but you do have a lot more control over it. It's also a place where you can grow your email list, which you have complete control over. So, yeah, it's really important for me to be putting the majority of my efforts there.
I totally agree. And with the email list, is that like a weekly thing that you put out, bi-weekly? How do you go about that? And what exactly are you putting in? Are you putting in the full recipe or are you just saying, are you linking out to your content where you want people to be driven to? A lot of creators talk about newsletters and how important they are. So I want to dive a little bit into like how you're using them and the content that you're putting inside.
Yeah, so right now I share two newsletters a week. So I share both new recipes and then we do a lot of kind of roundup type things. So if there's, for example, a holiday coming up, we had like Mother's Day earlier this month, right? We rounded up all of the best brunch recipes for Mother's Day to share into the newsletter, and all those link out directly to the recipes on the blog. So that drives traffic to the blog, which is really important for SEO
Right.
and for growth on the website, and everyone can get the recipes right there. But they get the recipes, inspiration delivered right to their inbox. And that's a really great way to drive traffic and awareness to the posts and to get people recipes that are seasonal and that can really meet a need for what they're looking for. So that's something that I'm really thinking about when I'm putting together these newsletters. Are there holidays coming up? Is there, is it a Sunday night and are they looking for something that they can meal prep that we want to send out? Things like that to really meet people where they are.
Do you have anything that you've worked on so far that you've gotten so much fulfillment out of? Something that you're like, this was it. Like, this was the project.
Yeah, I've had a few like over the years. I'd say right now, my ebooks that I have on my website have been really fulfilling, just putting those together. And those are ebooks that I sell on my website. And
Mhm.
so something like a little more special for my audience that's a little more curated, that and it's a digital product that I own and sell. I think that's one of the most rewarding things that I put together to date. I don't have a physical cookbook yet, but that's something that I'm hoping to do in the future as well.
Yeah, I think people are still buying them. I just bought one for Korean food. I think people are still buying cookbooks. People still love having them and looking through them. And I think when it's from a specific person that you really love and admire their food and their content, then people will definitely still buy.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a market for it. And, when it comes to books, like I read books on my Kindle, but I feel like when it comes to something like a cookbook, you want that physical book. It's a nice thing to put out on your coffee table or even as a decor piece, and
Or even hand down, right?
yeah.
Our parents always had cookbooks. My mom has this one. I think a bunch of parents have like the same exact cookbook. but it's this red one, and
It's
it's
the
like,
red one. It's red and white. I know exactly
yeah,
what flavor you're
everyone
talking about
has
because
it.
my parents also have the same one.
She swears by it. But also any of my grandmother's recipes, if they were on like a scratch piece of paper or something, she has it like stuffed in there. I'm sure I'll get that book one day. So I still think that there's some sort of desire to have something physical,
Yeah.
even though we're in the modern age of everything's online, where we are now with like AI and all of that. Do you have an opinion? Do you have any thoughts about what that is like for somebody in your industry and how that will affect you? Do you currently use it? Like, what are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've thought a lot about it. I've done a lot of research on it. I do use AI, use ChatGPT to help me out with, creating things like Instagram captions or creating recipe inspiration or things like that. In terms of where it's going, there's a lot of people who are scared, especially in the content creator industry, that AI is just going to take over and we're all going to lose our jobs. And I can't say for certain that that's not going to happen. But I think there is an element that people are kind of shifting to also wanting to connect with real people. Like you said, with like physical cookbooks, people want something that feels real. And when it comes to recipes, even firstly, AI isn't there because I've gone and I've looked up and asked them for, give me a recipe for this banana bread or whatever it is. And I've tested it out because I wanted to see, like what are they really providing? And the AI isn't there yet. Maybe it will get better, but right now it's kind of just pulling from multiple
Well, it can't
sources on
taste,
the internet. And
right?
exactly, it can't taste. It doesn't have that human element to it. It doesn't know the ingredients. It doesn't know how things actually work well together. It's just pulling data that it finds online. And I think what people are really looking for when they're looking for recipes to cook, because cooking is something so personal, is they're looking for that personal connection. So I do think there is still a lot of value for having real people making recipes who can actually create them, who can actually taste them. Maybe it's something, right, like your grandmother's recipe that's been handed down from generation to generation, and there's a bit more of a connection there versus using AI to just develop something that
Yeah.
you don't know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, and you say you do use it in your business.
Yes.
So I don't know if you have a team or if you have anybody that works with you. Has it replaced anything in your business, or is it just basically a tool?
Yeah, I use it as a tool mostly. I do have an assistant who helps me get our Pinterest posts, Facebook, do some graphics on Canva, things like that. With AI, I use it more of an assistant tool if I need to bounce some ideas or brainstorm, if I need some copy for a newsletter, for things like that to help me with like little tasks. But it hasn't replaced anything in my business per se, but it has helped me streamline some things in my business and to work more efficiently.
For your assistant, what are you delegating to your assistant, and how does that help you stay not crazy?
It's been something really great and crucial in my business because there's only so many hours in the day and there's only so much you can do. So I've completely offloaded Pinterest and Facebook. So I don't touch those anymore. And she gets all of like our new posts from the blog. She does the pin graphics, gets those up on Pinterest, gets the new posts up on Facebook. She also handles our newsletter. So we have a brainstorm every month on what we're going to send out for our newsletter. It all goes into our content calendar and then she puts those all together, sends them to me for approval. And then again, we like kind of brainstorm and work through together if there's anything that needs to be edited or changed. As far as Instagram and TikTok and the video content goes, that's all me right now, at least for now. I do all the shooting, all the editing. And I think it's important to also have some things that you have autonomy over. They're more personal
Yeah.
things in my business. It's my videos. I'm in the videos. I do the voiceovers. I want to make sure that people know that that's really coming from me and that the recipes are coming from myself.
Right, and typically if the same person is editing it, you'll get the same sort of style.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe one day that will be something that you shift and then you're doing something else. Who knows? At what point did you add on your assistant? Like at what point did it make sense for you to ask for that help?
Yeah, so I've had a few different assistants over the years, and I added that on pretty quickly in my business. So that was after maybe a couple years doing it all on my own. And again, things kind of, right, the more your business grows, the more there is to do. So at some point you're like, oh my God, I can't do this all on my own. At
Yeah.
one point you're doing the blog posts, you're doing Facebook, at one point social media, there was no video content. It was just photos. I was just pulling photos from my blog to
Right.
post them onto Instagram, and then suddenly like the doors open to a whole new thing you have to be doing, and it seems like that keeps happening. So yeah, it was after a couple of years I started offloading some tasks, and it's been super helpful.
Do you ever feel like it's too much or that you're burning yourself out? And how do you handle that if you ever get to that point?
Yeah, I definitely happens. I definitely go through those phases, and sometimes it's just taking a step back or saying, "You know what? We're gonna post 3 times a week instead of 4 times a week this month," or, "You know what? We're not gonna use this new app that everyone's using," because there's always these things coming out and you're hearing rumors like, "This is gonna be the
Mhm.
next big thing," or, like, "Oh, well, now you have to post on Instagram and on Threads and on TikTok." Then TikTok has, like, their own version of Threads, and, like, at some point, it's
Oh
like,
my
"Okay,
gosh.
like, where do I put my attention to? What's going to bring the most value to my business?" And that's where I'm going to put my focus. So right now, for example, like, I post to TikTok, but other than posting, I don't spend a lot of time on the app.
Yeah.
I don't spend a lot of time engaging. I don't use their version of Threads. I don't post stories there because it's not that valuable to me in my business. I also personally find it's not my favorite place to spend my time. So I don't want to bring that energy into my business.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an example of one where I kind of said like, okay, I'm gonna post, but I'm gonna take like a little bit of a step back and not like spend like so many hours of my day because it makes me feel really burnt out.
Oh yeah, I think Instagram a little bit more beautifully curated. From what I've seen, TikToks are more like down and dirty, sort of like fun and just like whatever somebody's thinking about that day. But I feel on Instagram it's very easy to look at what everybody is doing and think like, oh, I should be doing that or I should be styling it this way. Like, do you ever feel like that gets in the way of your creation, or are you pretty good at staying on track?
Mhm, it has at times in the past. I find I'm a lot better now. I don't tend to scroll too much. I don't follow people who make me feel bad. I actually went through like a time where like I unfollowed anyone who not outwardly making me feel bad about myself in any way, but things where you're looking at it where you're like, this isn't serving me anything positive. So I made sure to, really curate my Instagram feed to just be a really positive place. And I also make sure that I don't spend too much time. So I use it for work. I use it like a little bit personally, but I make sure not to spend too much time on any social media app and spend more of my time in the real world.
Real world. Yeah, especially with kids now.
Yeah.
I have found that my daughter has particularly made me enjoy like the now instead of just like constantly wanting to be scrolling. And if I do find myself doing that, I try to get myself like right out of it and back to my attention. Do you ever have that shiny object syndrome? For people that don't know what that is, it basically is when you see something and you're like, well, I want to do that. Or then you see something over there and you're like, well, I want to do that too. And I want to do all of these things, but you seem so streamlined. Like you seem like you know what you want to do, you know who you are. Is that true?
I have gotten it in the past and I have bounced around with like different ideas and different businesses. I was doing online blogging courses for a while also doing the blog, and you get pulled in all these different directions of like, oh, like that sounds really cool. Like I want to
Mhm.
do that and I want to try that. And sometimes it's great and sometimes it works out and sometimes it's a good business decision. And other times it kind of just you're just spreading yourself too thin. And that's what happened with me while I was doing online courses because I had this like idea in my head that I'm going to put these out. It's going to be a passive income stream, which is a lie in business because nothing is passive. Everything takes a lot of
Thank
work,
you for
a
saying
lot of
that.
educating. People say you hear it all the time. There's all these, ads coming at you like build a passive business, make your email list. It's going to be passive. Nothing is passive. Everything takes effort. Everything takes energy. So it's taken a lot of time for me to really say like, okay, this is where I want to
Mm.
focus my attention. And like you said too, having a kid now, having my daughter, I really also had to decide like, okay, like what do I want to focus on? Because I have limited time in the day for my work because I also have time that I want to spend with my family. So that's really helped me kind of hone in on my craft and what I want to do and where I want to focus my attention.
That's great. If you were to tell yourself anything now from when you were starting out, what would you tell yourself? Whether it's business, whether it's how to like function in this realm of now, like are there any things that you would tell your past self?
Yeah, I would probably just tell myself to keep going. Like don't quit, don't give up. I think that's like the most important thing. And I've seen people in the industry come and go, or things aren't, going as planned or they're not growing and they kind of just get discouraged and
Mm,
they just stop or they quit. They're just like at the tip of the mountain, and if they just kept going a little more, they get over, but they can't see it, right? And I feel like I've been there too, and it's hard and it's really discouraging at times because you just feel like you're not getting to where you want to be. But it's really about putting in the time and the hours and to just keep going.
yeah. And then, so for people who are listening that feel like they want to be a food blogger, if they want to be in that industry, is there anything that you would tell them? Maybe there's a few tips, a few different things that you can share to help them get started if they haven't started already.
I think my number one tip would be don't wait until you're ready.
Yeah.
I feel like it's so common to be like, well, I need to perfect my photography or like I don't know how to film a video or whatever it is. And people just kind of wait. They want things to be the perfect version before they put it out. And you just procrastinate so much that in the time that you're waiting, you could have started that blog. You could have like 50 posts up on your Instagram account already. And, even for myself, I didn't know how to do videos, short form video. I wasn't doing short form video. And there was a point where I also felt for myself like, I'm not good at it. I don't like the lighting. I'm not liking the way I'm editing. And I just told myself too, like, just post it because go on any social media app. There's like tons of terrible quality videos. And they're racking up like millions of views. Right?
Yeah.
Like people don't care. No one cares as much as you. Like you think everyone's watching and picking at every little detail, but they're not. So don't wait until you're ready. Just post the video, post the photo, start the blog, do the thing, get going with it, and you will get better as you keep doing it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I illustrate, and so even with my illustration, I was posting things and I'd be like, "Oh, I don't like that." But I did it anyway, and then I would, as I'm going, I'm getting better and better and better. And so it's even nice for me to see my progress of like where I started versus like where my illustration and my posts are now. So I think that's a great point to make.
Mhm.
If somebody's like, you have such a distinct style, how do I find my place and how do I find my style, how I'm going to show up? Like, do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, again, I think it's all about practice, like finding your personal aesthetic. It's the same with finding like your style in fashion, right? Like trying on the clothes, like seeing what you like, and like don't be scared to play around and test things out. Like maybe you want to film your recipe on like a dark wood background and play
Mm,
around with like, that dark and moody look in harsh sunlight, in cloudy light. Like play around and see what feels right to you. And over time, it'll kind of just come to you and you'll develop a personal style.
yeah, because it's kind of like, well, if you like it, there has to be somebody else that likes it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And where do you draw the line between catering to the larger demographic versus like doing what you want to do? Because I know that you said sometimes you do that ingredient that's trending or something. Like, how
Mhm.
do you draw the line between trending and doing something that's like maybe nothing's completely original anymore, but but I think you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, there's a fine line for sure. I always take an audience first approach. So if it's something my audience will love or that I know they'll like, right? I work with healthy food, so things like dates and cottage cheese that are trendy. Like I know those are going to be a hit with my audience. I know that they're going to like it. So those ingredients I'll work with. But if it's something that like I don't think my audience will really like or care for, it's not something that I'm going to do just
Mm,
because it's trendy. So that's kind of where I draw the line with like trending recipes, trending ingredients, all these like the viral TikTok trends. I try and make sure that it's something that's going to cater to my people.
mhm.
And with seasonality too, it's the same thing for me.
And how often are you showing yourself? I know a lot of your videos are obviously of the food. Do you feel like showing yourself and engaging in that nature helps at all? Or are you like very much so about the food is what matters?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a food first approach. I used to not show myself on camera in video, and I started incorporating that into my video as well, because I do find it does help bring a little more connection with your audience, that there's an actual person behind the food who is
Mhm.
creating it. So I do think it's important to show up both like on stories and in video. I try to show up like, even if it's just like a 3-second clip in at least half of my videos, like there's some days where I just in a messy bun and I just can't be bothered to be on camera. I'm just like getting the recipe done. It's like something that we're gonna have for lunch or dinner. But I think it's important to show up a little bit to really build more rapport with your audience.
Mm, okay. And do you have anything that's coming up for you, like in the near future, that you're really excited about? Anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I don't have any distinct plans for something. I'm hoping to start looking into a cookbook in the near future, but right now my core focus is really working on my blog, and I know we talked a lot about AI, so really kind of just proofing my website for the AI future that we're entering and making sure that I'm prepared for like the next phases of the online world.
Okay, great. Is there any places that you want to direct the audience of where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm choosing Chia on all social media platforms, on Instagram, on TikTok, and my blog is choosingchia.com, and that's where you can find all of my recipes.
Hey, well, so great to talk to you. I feel like you have so many good little tidbits about everything. You've been doing this for a while now. How long?
I'm like aging myself right now. It's been like 7+ years.
You've come so far in that amount of time. There's a lot of people that don't get as far in that amount of time. So you've done really well. I'm really happy for you, and I'm excited that you were able to come on here and join me. I'm really excited to get this out there. I think that a lot of times when people think of creativity, they're not thinking food and that realm. A lot of people are thinking like painting and like drawing and only that kind of thing. But there's so many forms of creativity. I mean, even your food photography is one. So thank you for being really accepting of coming on here and chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Roxanne. It's really fun.
Thanks for tuning in to We're All Creative. Whether you're sketching ideas on a napkin, building something from scratch, or simply dreaming big, remember, creativity lives in all of us. Keep exploring, keep expressing, and most of all, keep creating. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative. Bye.